Hello and welcome! It is Vintage Super League time once again. I'm here, David's here. Neither one of us is actually happy to be playing this week, but what are you going to do? It is relegation night. We've got 4 guys entering, and at least one of us is going to have to play the play-in tournament next week. Hopefully it's, I don't know, am I supposed to wish you good luck? I don't even know what the etiquette is here. How are things, Dave?
They're good. They're good. I'm actually hoping that the last round, I'm 2-0, playing an 0-2, and the other two are 0-2, or 1-2, and I lose, and 3 relegations happen.
Oh, jeez.
And I come out of it 2-1.
So you've got yourself in the spot for the wild card group too. I notice in this story.
Or I 3-0 and everybody 1-2s. No.
Fair enough. It is true that we're not using tiebreakers. That's actually an important thing. I know we've used a lot of tiebreakers this season to see, okay, who won the group, who advances. Full tiebreakers for figuring out which one of us goes to the wild card group. But when it comes to relegation, it's just match record. Anybody tied for last on match record, it could be, like you say, as many as 3 people could wind up 1 and 2. And that would mean 3 spots on the line in the next play-in tournament. So at least if we get multiple people relegated, there's more spots for us to then play for.
Yeah, no, I was just joking, but if I do go down, I hope 2 come with me.
Well,
I don't care who goes. You'll still be with us either way in some form if you go, but, with Ocho and Rich, who knows? You're always a part of the show, so it's kind of, I don't know who goes. I hope it's not me is all I can say. It's been me before, and if it is me, it's all right. I'm a fan, and I'll come back another time, or I'll try to win the play-in. I did win 5 matches in one play-in, only to lose, the last game of the last match in one, where I had to go 6-0. But,
and I like the chances of anybody who gets knocked out tonight spiking that play-in tournament, so certainly probably won't be the last you hear from any of us, but I don't want it to be me. I like the fact I've been in all the seasons. That's my goal. There's only 3 people who've played every season of Vintage Super League at that point. It's me, it's Rich Shea, and it's Eric Froelich. And both Rich and I are at risk of ending that streak.
Was Rich in season 1?
Yeah. Rich was
after that.
This is season 6, and I think calendar year-wise, it's been 3 years.
Wow. Yeah, I remember. It's pretty cool to see us see it still going along. What are your thoughts on the ban list announcement yesterday? Pretty incredible.
I was a little surprised, quite frankly. I thought that they were, I kind of thought they would do something about standard, but I guess the idea of waiting isn't crazy, like totally defensible position. For vintage, I was even more surprised because I thought it was time for them to actually do something about Mentor. I think Mentor just is the best deck. But if you read the way Eric Lauer wrote it up, it seems to me, the way I read it anyway, was him saying, reading between the lines, yeah, maybe we are supposed to do something about Mentor, but, European Eternal Weekend is coming up in a couple of weeks. It's less than a month away, and I think those Eternal Weekends are such big fixtures for the vintage community that you kind of don't want to mess with the format right before them, right? Let people go have their Eternal Weekend, and then, unless Mentor gets slaughtered. If Mentor does well at European Eternal Weekend, I bet they do something right after that, and then you get to sort of have 6 months of play setting up to North American Eternal Weekend coming up in the fall.
I don't like it. I like to make big changes before a new format, so you get to see some new brews.
I agree with you with the Pro Tour. I'm just not sure I agree with you when it comes to vintage and Eternal Weekend specifically.
Because I was ready to play my brew this week, and if the ban's potentially happening, if Mentor got kind of neutered,
yeah,
I was ready to go with my brew, and I built it. Rachel played some matches with me. She was on her Mentor list on, I think it was Sunday night, and the beatings I got were so bad. I was like, yeah, this brew is not ready. I told you about it, but I don't know if I want to say just because I don't want people to start working on it. I kind of want to keep it a secret still. But I will say it did have 4 regrowth. It was trying to abuse regrowth because no one's ever really abused that card. And that was one of the most powerful things the deck was doing. The fact that, anytime you draw it, it was whatever was in your graveyard. You need a Force Will, you just regrow Force Will. You need an Ancestral, you need whatever you need. Any card. It was incredible how versatile 4 regrowth was, and I'm surprised we don't see it more often. It could be because of things like sphere effects make it pretty bad because you're tacking on 3 to whatever spell you bring back. But it was a very powerful card in just in general matches when you actually get going back and forth. But the deck wasn't ready. Doesn't mean I am or am not on Mentor tonight, but I didn't get to bring I wanted to bring it so bad, and I think if relegation wasn't at risk, maybe if I was in that middle group where, hey, if you don't do well, you're just done for the season. I would have done it, but being at the bottom, it's too important to not get sent home. You can't just show up at the fun deck and then be on your way out going, man, why did I do that?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, selfishly and from a Vintage Super League point of view, I would have been happier if they had done something about Mentor on Monday. And by the way, guys, we would have implemented it tonight. We had plans. We had the email. We're like, all right, decks are due Monday, but if Vintage changes, we get until like an hour before showtime on Tuesday for all of us to react to whatever they were going to do. So we would have implemented a new BNR tonight if it had actually happened. But we know this format. It's ultimately going to come down to who knows how to play it, I think. And I don't know whether they're going to do something about Mentor or not. Look to European Eternal Weekend, I think, is where that tale will actually be told.
For Standard, I'm actually happy there were no bans because even though it's pretty much a two-deck game, I mean, let's be real, it's just two decks in there.
Agreed.
Gameplay is some of the best Standard gameplay I've seen in years. Every game is incredible, and there's so many decision points. I mean, we did the coverage of the Magic Online Championship, and I've watched the Grand Prix, and it's never like it's two decks, but it's like almost like they're so evenly matched that there's no true winner. And it's just like you get to watch, a key match over and over again, and different things happen, and there's different ways to tune your sideboards. I mean, I think it was Ben Friedman's sideboard. He had some. What did he play? He put Ishkana. I haven't seen Ishkana in a 4-color Saheeli deck, and that was incredible. So, I mean, there's still ways to kind of tweak the matchups in your favor, and to me, I find it interesting. I enjoy watching this matchup.
Yeah, I think Standard right now, the gameplay is interesting. There's a lack of diversity, but it's like some people like one thing, some people like the other. For me, though, I don't know that they can go the full 2 years with Feldar Guardian Saheeli legal, right? That combo is...
It ain't going to make it.
It's not going to make it 2 years. There's no way. And I think that combo is just putting such a constraint on what else you can do. Like anybody who wants to bring a brew, there's a limit to what you can do as a deck builder while that combo is in Standard. So I don't know. At some point, I think they're going to have to break that combo up. I don't think they had to do it yesterday. I think it's reasonable. Maybe you give it to Lam and Ket. Maybe you give it another Pro Tour. But there's no way that combo lasts 2 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wish they could just go back like they used to and just errata and just make it say creature or non-planeswalker permanent on Guardian or something. You know what I mean?
Want power level errata. You're going to have to go through my wife if you want the power level errata. She's still the lead editor on Magic and not a fan of power level errata. They've actually undone some of the power level errata that they used to do back in the day where they would just sort of, retcon cards to say something slightly different. They've actually unwound all of that. So certainly not within the policy. Not a crazy thing. I mean, if it was a pure digital game, it's easier to do stuff like that. But you just hate when somebody has a physical card and they're just reading it and they know what it says and then it doesn't work that way. It's such a feel-bad moment.
But there's literally no difference in you have a card and, oh, you can't play this card? Like, if you know you can't play it, then you can also know it does something different. I mean, it's theoretically the same, right? Like a guy has this card, you get, oh, you can't play that card. Oh, why not? Because it's on this mythical list. It could also be in this mythical list where, no, the text is just changed by one little word, which most people who don't know that probably aren't blinking Planeswalkers to go infinite.
Yeah.
The people that don't know that are probably just blinking their Spike Feeder to get more counters on it or whatever, at the kitchen table.
Not crazy.
I don't think it's bad, but yeah, that combo ain't gonna last for 2 years. Let's be real.
That's where I'm at. So I don't know. I think it's a question of what they want to do and how they're going to react. But anyway, we'll see. I feel like, nothing happened yesterday, but both stories are to be continued. All right. Vintage match is getting set up. Our first match tonight is going to be David Ochoa against Rich Shea. The two of them are getting set up right now. Looks like Webb's having some sort of technical issue. So I know we've got to 5 o'clock without a match, but we'll hang out with you a little bit. Got a little bit of a late start to pregame anyway. And
yeah, I have predictions.
Okay, I'll let you go
first. I'll leave you out since you're my first opponent anyways, and you can leave me out. But I'm pretty sure, Webb has not played a workshop, has played a workshop in every deck he's ever played in VSL, correct?
I think so. It's at least close to that. So, yeah, I was going to say, so my over-under on workshops in this first match, workshop decks, is 1. Like, I actually, do you think it's more likely we're going to have 2 workshop decks or 0? Because obviously
I don't think you're playing workshops, and you don't think I'm playing workshops, because neither of us really have. We could, but I put Webb on workshops. I put Rich Shea on some sort of mentor-ish deck.
I have Rich on workshops as his second most likely deck.
And I also the second most likely deck. Agree.
Right. So our expected number of workshop decks here is probably 1 point something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, maybe Web's not 100% workshops, but whatever percent Web isn't on a workshop deck is probably smaller than the percent that Rich is. So
wouldn't it be great if all four of us just showed up with workshop? It was just workshop night on the VSL.
Yeah, it probably has been underplayed in VSL so far.
I think it has. I mean, and if you saw the last daily or whatever, I think Diofan 4-0'd or won the tournament with Foundry Chief, or what's his name? Foundry Inspector, Walking Ballistas, and he had Crucibles in the sideboard, which was a nice one I don't see too often, and it looked pretty sweet. I mean, just like a few tweaks on something we've already seen, but I liked it.
So you have Rich on Mentor most likely.
Most likely. I mean, I'm not gonna mulligan an opening hand that's only good against Mentor and bad against shops because I think he's on Mentor. I mean, if my hand's good, I'm gonna keep it. And I do know that it's not like 100%. I wouldn't say it's over 55%.
Did you see the crazy Oath deck that Rich put up some results with a couple of weeks ago?
Was it Oath?
No, it was Paradoxical Outcome Oath.
No, I didn't see this.
Yeah, this is like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He put up like a 4-0 and somebody else 3-1. I haven't seen it in a couple of weeks, but basically take your Paradoxical Outcome deck, right? Take Reed's or mine or Bob's or whatever. Put in 4 copies of Oath of Druid, 2 Grizzlebrands, and Forbidden Orchards. Done.
That's
basically, yeah, no, it's the Paradoxical Outcome Storm deck. You can just go off and tendril somebody out with a paradoxical outcome and a bunch of moxes, but you can also just drop an Oath, go into Grizzlebrand, draw 7, and go off that way.
But if you happen to mill both your Will and your Tendrils, you're all in on attacking for 7.
It plays the dorky green card, the one that reshuffles 3 cards. That some Oath decks play.
The other one, the one you can cast flashback.
Yeah, that it's flashback. The flashback is reshuffle 3 cards in.
Yeah, I didn't know if you're not Guy's Blessing, old school.
Not Guy's Blessing. The flashback Guy's Blessing essentially. So it doesn't go infinite like Guy's Blessing does. Forbidden Memory. I hate that I can't remember card names, but that one.
It's really strange because I remember. Maybe it's old age, but it's probably also Magic cards just keep getting released. I used to know the name of every card in Magic. I mean, 15,000 of them. And now
they're over 15,000 now, yeah.
And now I'm just like, wait, what's that card again? I think it's probably just old age, but it's just it's sad, man. It really hits hard. It hits hard to like, oh, I remember that. Not even just the name, just the actual text. Oh, that's a card. Memory's Journey. Someone in the chat said it. Memory's Journey. That's the one. It
was Memory something or another. Yeah, they're well over 15,000 distinct Magic cards at this point. I mean, you talk to people in R&D, and they talk about, one of the skills they look for in people who are in R&D or thinking about getting jobs in R&D is, how well do they know, the 17,000 or whatever the number is up to now.
It's amazing. Adam Jansen used to know the flavor text on every card. I mean, granted, this was when probably around 1997, 96, so there weren't nearly as many, maybe 5,000-6,000 cards or maybe something like that, maybe only 5, but he knew the flavor. I mean, and I would always try to get him. I would like find an obscure card, and I would just say the name, and he would just recite the flavor text, and I would look at the card like, oh my god, how does this guy know the flavor text of every card? I'll hit him up now if I see him, because he's kind of resurfaced every now and then. I'll see him around, and I'll ask him about an old card. He'll still remember the old ones. I don't know if he does the new ones yet, but pretty impressive stuff.
Sure. All right, David Ochoa is restarting his computer. We were having issues with getting him into a hand cam, so stay tuned. I mean, we'll keep chatting. Don't mind hanging out talking about Vintage. We're just we're in the cagey spot where you and I can't really reveal our decks.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier to talk if we'd at least seen all 4 decks. But I mean, right. 93, 94 is catching steam. I don't know. I mean, people were talking about it. Efro tweeted, I troll tweeted and copied and offered 1% more. But no, really, it's like, is it old school Magic the same as 93, 94? Are they 2 different versions? And does one have mana burn? Does one not? I mean, what the heck is going on?
Sure. So the names are used approximately synonymously. I prefer the name old school. I just think it's cooler. What happened is, so these guys in Sweden started it. They called it 93, 94, and they had a set of rules where you had to have versions of the cards that were printed by the end of 94. So like, oh, you can't use a revised dual land. It has to be unlimited. Like, most people have gone away from that. So the format's in this situation where there are different little pockets of people that will have mildly different rules. The tournament that happens at Eternal Weekend in North America anyway every year is, I think, the rule set that the most people follow. The Eternal Central guys basically maintain their banned list, and their rules are, as long as it's original art and original frame, use whatever version you want. They call it old school, and they say sets up through the dark. I know that Steve Menendian has a crowd that plays in the Bay Area in California a lot. They've actually been experimenting with adding Ice Age in to the legal set mix, which does that. Some stuff.
I like that.
I have never played with Ice Age in old school, but Necropotence is going to change things.
Right? I need a spot acceptor so I can play Stasis.
There you go. Yeah, no, Stasis definitely gets better if you get to spot acceptor for sure.
And all these guys play Necro. Enjoy my Stasis.
There you go. All right. Web is back online. They are in the process of making the game. Hopefully our first match is not too far away. But anyway, old school 93, 94, people usually mean the same thing by it. You certainly, if you have like a random local tournament, you have to check and find out, oh, is Strip Mine restricted in this group? How many sets are legal? I think the majority of people play up through the dark, and they play with Strip Mine unrestricted. But I mean, I know. I know, I hear you. The thing is, if you restrict Strip Mine, then some of the, Bazaar and Workshop just become kind of unanswerable. And Mishra's Factory, for that matter, become crazy powerful if there's only the one card answer. Library of Alexandria is obviously a card in the format. Restricted, but it becomes just...
For Strip Mine, how is it not just 4 Strip Mine, Wasteland, 4 Sinkholes, 4, just go crazy, Nether Voids, Dark Rituals?
That deck is... I played against that deck. People certainly build that deck. I don't think it's the best deck. I think the best deck is the deck, right? You just go old school Weissman. Even though Mana Drain is restricted on pretty much everybody's list,
you still get Counterspell.
Right, you get Counterspell, and the thing is, if you've got all the jewelry, right, you're just playing, one of all the Moxes, you get to play Jayemdae Tome, and you get to play Disrupting Scepter. My old school deck is 2 books and 2 sticks. I just have 2 of each. And doesn't matter. A ton of fast mana. I actually have a couple Felwar Stones in my deck too. You're just like 29, 30 mana sources, Jayemdae Tomes and Disrupting Scepters, counter spells, whatever. That's if you actually want to play the format, I'm pretty sure that some version of that is the best deck.
Serra Angel, is that your beater?
So I play the Abyss because there's too many flyers to go moat. Like, you basically have to decide, are you a moat deck or are you an Abyss deck? And moat, the problem with moat is that people play Serendibs and obviously Serra Angels as well. Abyss kills all of that. So all I have to win with in my deck are Mishra's Factory.
Oh,
that's
okay.
it. Abyss,
Disenchant.
Abyss, Mishra's Factory, and then, you just have to counterspell their Disenchants and their Plows, or Regrowth, or Recall, for that matter. I've never run out of Mishra's Factories yet. It's a little sketchy that I only have the 4 factories to win with, but it hasn't cost me yet.
Belden's Cane?
I don't play a Cane. I do play a Recall. The card that I could play if I really wanted to make sure my deck could go even longer is Time Twister. I don't play the Twister. I just go through the deck once, Regrowth and a Recall,
Chaos
and
Orb?
Of course you play Chaos Orb.
Is it 50 or point?
Every deck in the format has a Chaos Orb, and the Chaos Orb, the way Chaos Orb is played is it's targeted, but you do have to flip. So it's 2 flip, and you basically point to the card that you're trying to blow up. So nobody has to spread their cards around crazy. It's a 3 colorless mana Vindicate that requires you to actually hit it when you flip. This is
making me want to barf that I recently sold everything I have. I still have bolts and plows and some power. So I got a foundation, but I gotta repurchase all this stuff again. This is awful.
No, it's not awful. It's great. It's fun.
I mean, it sounds great, but just having to spend that kind of money after I already sold it. I mean, I guess it's the money I got after selling it, but wish I hadn't sold it.
I will say, by the way, it's a lot easier to flip a Chaos Orb in a sleeve than it was 20 years ago when no one was playing with sleeves. I don't know how up to date you are on Chaos Orb flipping tech, but
I used to be pretty decent at it, but no longer. So again, it's like remembering card names. I've gotten old, man, and all your abilities get bad.
All right, enough talking about Chaos Orbs. It's time for some actual vintage. All the sets, all the cards. Rich Shea and David Ochoa are standing by. Let's get this night started.